Have you noticed the recent uptick in U.S. military activity in the Southern Caribbean? It might look like routine patrols or a symbolic show of force, but look closer. What's happening isn't random. It's a calculated, strategic preparation for potential conflict, and it's all centered on Venezuela. This isn't just about deterrence anymore. It's about being ready for rapid escalation. Today, we're breaking down exactly what the U.S. is doing, why they're doing it, and what it all means. One of the most telling signs is the quiet reactivation of old Cold War infrastructure. Remember the Roosevelt Roads Naval Station in Ciba, Puerto Rico? It used to be the largest U.S. naval base in the world before it was closed in 2004. Now, satellite images and recent reports show it's being rapidly modernized. They're upgrading it to support military aviation, command centers, and heavy logistics. Its location is no accident. From Roosevelt Roads, U.S. tactical aircraft are just minutes away from Venezuelan airspace, all while operating from the safety of U.S. territory. It's not just Puerto Rico. Over at the Henry E. Rohlsen Airport in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a similar transformation is happening. This is officially a civilian airport, but reports indicate it's being adapted to handle heavy military airlift operations. Think about what that means. A continuous flow of troops, armored vehicles, ammunition, and fuel. This isn't for a short-term mission. This is the backbone for a sustained military operation, whether that's for combat or for stabilization afterward. So, what's driving all this preparation? There are two main triggers. The first is classic great power competition. U.S. intelligence believes Russia and China are looking for more than just friendly handshakes with Venezuela. They're seeking long-term military footholds right in America's backyard. Imagine permanent Russian or Chinese military bases, intelligence facilities, or logistics hubs in the Caribbean. That would completely upend U.S. strategic dominance in the Western Hemisphere and shatter the core principles of the Monroe Doctrine. The U.S. sees this as a red line. The second trigger is all about money, and power, specifically oil, and the financing of the Venezuelan regime. In response, we've seen a sharp increase in U.S. Coast Guard interdictions and the seizure of tankers. This is a strategy of economic strangulation. You cut off the money, you weaken the regime from the inside, making it more vulnerable. This is a classic playbook tactic, used to soften up a target before any major military action begins. Now, let's talk about the hardware at sea. The U.S. naval forces deployed near Puerto Rico aren't just on patrol. They're configured for layered warfare. We're seeing Arleigh-Burke-class destroyers, like the USS Jason Dunham. These ships are floating electronic warfare and strike platforms. Their job would be to jam Venezuelan communications, blind their coastal radar, and launch precision missiles at key targets. Then you have other destroyers, like the USS Stockdale, providing a defensive shield. They use the advanced Aegis combat system to intercept any incoming anti-ship missiles or aircraft, protecting the rest of the fleet. At the center of it all is a Ticonderoga-class cruiser, acting as the air defense command hub for the entire battle space, coordinating every move in the air and on the sea. They're there to make sure no submarines, fast attack boats, or smuggling vessels can break out into the open Atlantic. But the most significant piece of the puzzle is the deployment of a large amphibious assault ship. You need it for an invasion, for raids, or for forced entry operations. Its presence sends an unmistakable message of intent, and we can't forget what's happening beneath the waves. The silent hunter of the fleet, a nuclear-powered attack submarine, is one of the most decisive assets in this entire scenario. Operating completely undetected, it can gather priceless intelligence by tapping into communications. It can also launch surprise cruise missile strikes against command centers, air defense sites, or naval bases, with devastating accuracy. Just its presence alone is a powerful deterrent, complicating any move Venezuela might make at sea and making any third-party navy think twice before intervening. Air power would be the tip of the spear in any potential conflict. From the continental U.S., B-52 Stratofortress bombers can launch long-range cruise missiles without ever having to land in the Caribbean. 4 targets that are more heavily defended. You have the B-1 Lancer bombers, capable of high-speed, low-altitude strikes. They are the door kickers, designed to penetrate hostile airspace undetected and destroy advanced systems like the S-300 missile batteries. Venezuela possesses, once the skies are clear, MQ-9 Reaper drones would provide persistent surveillance, 24/7s. They can track mobile missile launchers and strike them the moment they reveal themselves. All of this air activity requires a massive amount of fuel. That's where the KC-130 aerial tankers come in. They're the flying gas stations that keep the fighters and bombers airborne for extended periods, ensuring they can maintain pressure around the clock. And for inserting special operations forces deep behind enemy lines, the military would rely on the MV-2 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft, which can take off like a helicopter and fly like a plane, allowing for deep, fast, and quiet insertion and extraction missions. Of course, none of this is possible without logistics. War is a game of supply, and the U.S. is building a powerful logistical pipeline. C-17 Globemaster III cargo planes would be flying non-stop into Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. They'd be delivering everything: troops, vehicles, ammunition, fuel, food, and medical supplies. This level of logistical preparation is another strong indicator that this is about planning for a prolonged operation, not just a quick show of force. So how would Venezuela respond to all this overwhelming firepower? They know they can't match the U.S. technologically. Their strategy would be asymmetric and hybrid. Venezuela relies on layers of air defenses, hidden coastal missile sites, and, importantly, a massive mobilized militia force that reportedly numbers in the millions. They also have intimate knowledge of their own jungle and urban terrain, which they would use to their advantage. Complicating things further are the criminal cartels that are deeply intertwined with parts of the Venezuelan military. They would use their established smuggling routes, fast boats, and civilian cover to disrupt U.S. maritime control and sow chaos. The Venezuelan militia would likely avoid direct, conventional battles. Instead, they would focus on urban resistance, guerrilla tactics, defending key infrastructure, and trying to drag out the conflict to wear down U.S. forces and political will. And what about external actors? Russia is the wild card. They would likely avoid a direct military confrontation with the United States. However, they could supply Venezuela with advanced technology like long-range drones and electronic warfare systems. These tools could enable asymmetric strikes against U.S. airfields, logistics hubs, or command centers. It would be a way for Russia to raise the cost of any U.S. operation significantly without triggering a direct state war. So, let's put it all together. When you see forward bases being reactivated, amphibious assault ships moving into position, the strategic posture has clearly shifted from simple deterrence to active readiness. Whether a conflict actually happens is another question, but the military infrastructure, the types of forces being deployed, and the operational planning all point in one direction. The United States is preparing for the possibility of rapid escalation. This isn't speculation, it's structured contingency planning unfolding before our eyes. What we're witnessing is the setup for a modern hybrid conflict, the overwhelming technological dominance of the United States versus the terrain-based resistance of Venezuela, with global powers like Russia and China maneuvering in the shadows. The final outcome of such a scenario wouldn't just be decided by firepower. It would be a battle of endurance, of public opinion, and of controlling the flow of information just as much as controlling territory. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next analysis.